Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. Incredible people, incredible country. I'm thrilled to be back with so many visionary innovators and titans of industry, the most brilliant in the world, actually. So many different locations, and they come from all over, but this is a very special country that I'm in, and the business leaders here at APEC are really fantastic. So many friends, and I want to thank our host at this important summit, President Lee of South Korea. He's a terrific person, and I'm going to be meeting with him this afternoon, and I look forward to that very much. The Republic of Korea is a cherished American friend and a close ally, and as we can see in this beautiful city, it's truly one of the most remarkable nations anywhere on earth. Here in this peninsula, the people of South Korea have forged a miracle of economic development like you rarely see, an industrial and technological powerhouse, and above all, a free society and enduring democracy and a thriving civilization, and I want to congratulate you. It's very few places like it. The entire world should be inspired by all that you have achieved, and they study you, and they do so much to understand what you've done, but most of them don't get it, and that's probably good for you. Keep it this way. Most of them don't get it. They want to get it, but it doesn't quite work out for them the same way it works out for you, so that's a great tribute to you. We have some very special people with us today, and I want to thank for the great job he's done, and also for being here, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Marco, you're around here someplace. Where's Marco? Marco, thank you. Man who's doing a fantastic job, who understands the markets maybe better than anybody. Our Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Scott, thank you very much. And somebody that you're dealing with, who you made a very good deal with, because you have very good negotiators, but he's pretty good too. Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce. Thank you, Howard. U.S. Trade Representative, Ambassador Jameson Greer is a fantastic person. And your career's Minister of Trade, Industry, and Resources, Mr. Jung Kwon Kim, who's an incredible man, actually. My people say he's very tough, however. We wish we had somebody of a little bit lesser caliber, but they decided not to do that. And so many other distinguished guests are here, so I just want to thank you very much. It's an incredible room. It's a beautiful room, by the way. All those beautiful people up there, so high up. This place is packed. Thank you. Look at it, we're waving. Thank you very much. But as you know, APEC unites Pacific nations around our growing economies and promoting our shared interests, and today I come with exciting news from one of the largest Pacific nations. We'll call ourselves a Pacific nation, but one of the largest of them all, the United States of America. I'm pleased to report to you that this afternoon, after 4 years of weakness, disaster, really decline, America is back, and it's back stronger than ever before. We're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen before. We're the hottest country in the world, actually, and I say that with other countries represented, and they admit it. But I do say it very proudly. 1 year ago, our country was in very, very serious trouble. Some people thought our country was dead. Now we're literally sort of an inspiration to a lot of other countries. We are indeed, I use the term hottest country, but we're the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. The United States is blessed with right now, the strongest economy, the strongest borders. This all happened over the last 9 months. The strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is a golden age. In a short period of time, I knew we could do it. I didn't know we were going to do it this quickly. It's a little bit more than 9 months. So in less than 1 year, we've secured commitments for over $18 trillion of new investments. As an example, the previous administration, in 4 years, they did less than $1 trillion. I think much less, actually, and hurt our country very badly. Who would have known? But we're going to be 18, so I figure that we'll probably be at 20 or 21, maybe even $22 trillion of investments coming into our country by the end of the first year of my second term. And, we had a tremendously successful first term. We had the strongest economy in history for our country, strongest we ever had. But this is, I think, blowing it away. We have great policy. We have some very good things happening. The stock market, as you know, is set 45 all-time highs since in a period of, it's pretty good, in a period of 9 months, breaking new records week after week, including one just yesterday. We set the record GDP growth in the second quarter, and that's with all of the things that we're doing. When they are built in a year and 2 years, we're going to go through the roof. I mean, we're going to see numbers that I don't think have ever been seen before. But even during this period of a little bit of a period of transition, you could call it, because I think we're in an economic revolution in America. We went at 3.8%. We're up 3.8% GDP, triple and even quadruple the rate that a lot of people thought we'd be. They thought that during this period that we'd be at a much lower rate. Some people predicted 1.5, and we're going to be very close to 4. The next quarter, we're expected to be at about 4% growth. And after that, I mean, I can't even predict, because when all of these factories that are moving in, the car plants are moving in. Yesterday I was with Mr. Toyota in Japan, and he's just announced he's going to spend, they are going to spend $10 billion, and they're going to build new car plants, and they're going to build them in numerous states, about 6 or 7 different states. And we're bringing our car industry back. We're bringing AI. We're leading everybody in AI. We're leading every nation in AI by a lot. In 9 months, we've lifted over 600,000 Americans off food stamps. Wages for workers are rising at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. And meanwhile, energy prices are down. Gasoline prices are down. Grocery prices are down. Mortgage rates are down, despite the fact that we have an incompetent head of the Fed. He's incompetent. I call him Jerome Too Late. He's always too late. Jerome Too Late Powell. But he's out of there in another couple of months. We'll be very happy about that. We'll appoint somebody that we all like, because we should have the lowest interest rates of any country. Because without us, there are no other countries, really. I mean, the whole thing falls apart. You know, America always had the lowest interest rates, and now we don't do that. We're like number 28. It's ridiculous. And we're a much different country than we were 2 years ago, or a year ago even. But you know what the crazy thing is? In the old days, I call it the old days. I'm a little bit older. I'm looking at all these young, brilliant faces. I'm a slight, a couple of years older than you, just a couple of years. But in the old days, when you announced good news, the stock market went up. You announced good news, the stock market would go up. Now, when you announce good news, the stock market goes down, because people say, oh, that's terrible. You're doing well, that's terrible. Interest rates will go up. So they think because of that, interest rates will go up because that. It's inverse to what it should be. We're going to go back to the way it used to be. When we announce good news, the stock markets are going to go up. And that's the way it should be. And we're going to really ride that very hard. And when we announce good news, we're not going to have a Fed that's going to raise interest rates because they're worried about inflation in 3 years from now or something. When we announce good news, we want the stock market to go up, not to go down. And the scourge of inflation we inherited. We inherited the worst inflation ever that we've ever had. I inherited from incompetent people, and now we're down to a very low rate of inflation, 2.7%. And it's going to be a little bit lower than that. It's almost a perfect number. Believe it or not, you don't want to have 0. You want to have like 1% to 2%, and we're very close to that number. But we had inflation the worst in the history of our country. But factories are booming in the USA, and manufacturing productivity is rising 5 times faster than it was just 1 year ago. Think of that. Steel production is way up by 155,000 tons a week. Oil production is through the roof by 500,000 barrels a day. And mining of clean, beautiful coal, I call it clean, beautiful coal, is up by 2.6 million tons every single month. And we brought coal back into the picture. What you can do with coal today is incredible. So I call it clean, beautiful. I don't use the word coal, I say, because it's got a little bit of a problem, public relations-wise, the word. So we call it clean, beautiful. My administration's not allowed to use the word coal. They have to say clean, beautiful coal. We've given it a new name. It's a three-name deal. Even semiconductor manufacturing is rapidly returning to the United States. NVIDIA and TSMC have just produced the first state-of-the-art Blackwell chip that was 100% made in the USA. In fact, Jensen, who's an incredible guy, he might be here. I don't even know. Is Jensen here? I think he's around. Somebody said he's here. How is he? Pretty good, right? Got a chip that's like 10 years advanced, but he's great. And they're all, building now. They're building tremendous plants in the United States, Arizona, Texas, all over. We're going to have a big portion of the chip market just in a very short period of time. But these tremendous strides are also creating great jobs for our citizens. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today than when I took office 9 months ago. Think of that. Almost 2 million people more American workers. Nobody's ever had numbers like that. And those numbers are going to get much bigger, much better than that when we open these plants that are being built all over, the AI plants. I've never seen plants this big. I built shopping centers, I built a lot of things, but if you spend 250, 300 million, you can build a big shopping center. These people are spending $50 billion to build a building. And I say, what's your product? Information. I said, well, good luck. That's a lot of information you're going to have. But, they're the smartest people in the world are doing it, and they all think it's great. All I can do is make it easy for them. And what I've done, one of the things that I'm most proud of, because I thought of it like every country, our electricity production, our energy production is not, it's not, nobody ever saw this kind of a revolution with the AI. And what they need more than anything is electricity. So if a country was able to do that, it would be, pretty unusual. It would be very hard, maybe you could say impossible. So I came up with a concept when they build this massive plant, sometimes the size of Manhattan. Think of that. The size of Manhattan, these plants are the biggest. I've never seen anything like it, actually. Nobody has. There's never been anything like it. But I let them build their own electricity generating plants with it. So they're building their own electric. They're sort of becoming an electric producing company in addition to all of the other things that they produce, including information. And what they're able to do is start immediately. We're giving them very fast permits. We're no longer having them wait for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years prior to rejection. They'd go 15 years and then they'd get a vote, a rejection. And by that time, their concepts were old and obsolete anyway. So, it's terrible. And we're getting it done rapidly, literally rapidly. And they're coming up with electric generating plants, the likes of which nobody has seen. The companies are standard companies that do electricity and create power companies. They've never seen anything like it because we have a level of genius, a level of people that are designing things that nobody's ever seen before that produces vast amounts of electricity for their plant. And if they have extra electricity, they sell it back into the grid. So they really, it's really been amazing. And it allows people to start building immediately, and they can't blame the government. They won't blame me because I didn't produce enough out of the grid that's 200 years old. So we have more people now working than at any time in the history of our country. And we've sort of just begun. It's hard to believe, actually, if you knew where we were 2 years ago. All of this is incredible news for Americans and for nations around the globe, and it is for South Korea because we're partners. We're serious partners. We're wedded, and we have a very special relationship, a special bond. In fact, we're working with you on shipbuilding, where you're going to come in. We were the #1 in the world during World War II. We produced a ship a day. Can you believe it? Tankers and freighters and this, but a ship a day. And today we're not really building ships, and we're going to start, and we're going to have a very thriving shipbuilding industry, and we're working it with South Korea very much so. In fact, some of the people in this room, they bought the Philadelphia shipyard. I think it's going to be one of the most successful yards in the world, anywhere in the world. It's great. Known for incredible production years ago, and sort of through bad management or bad thinking by people that were prior to me. I mean, you have to blame the president. You can give the president credit or blame the president, but I blame the president. They allowed the shipbuilding industry to go away, essentially, in our country. We're going to bring it back very, very powerfully. When America thrives, our partners thrive, and our alliances thrive with all of the countries. The Indo-Pacific thrives, and that's good for all of us, and the entire world becomes safer and wealthy and greater than ever before. We get along with a lot of countries. We solved a lot of wars and a lot of problems, and that's all good for all of us. The extraordinary American turnaround that I've just described has been achieved not by just continuing business as usual back in Washington. If I didn't win the election, and we won it in a landslide, we won by tremendous numbers. I had a whole thing too big, you have to say, too big to rig. We didn't want any rigging. We had these great polls going in. I said, don't believe the polls. Pretend we're 1 point down. Always assume we're 1 point down. And everybody voted. We won in a landslide. We won all 7 swing states. You have to win the swing states. And we won all 7, which is something that rarely happens. But to win the popular vote by millions, we won everything you can win. The Electoral College by a tremendous amount. We won in counties. They have counties, thousands of counties. And we were 2,700 compared to 525 actually. So think of that. We were 2,750 compared to 525. And that's why the map shows all red. Red being Republican, not something else. Red being Republican. Only a few people understand that one. My administration has rejected the old model of incompetent government that punished success and rewarded failure and made building anything almost impossible. When you come into our country, and many of you are doing that, but when you come into America, you're going to get service like you've never seen before. Quick permits, and we want safety, we want great environmental, we want everything good, but it's going to go quickly. We're rewarding those who build and create and hire and invest in the USA, and we're making America the best place on earth to do business, and that's what it's become very quickly. We have some wonderful people. Lee Zeldin at Environmental, he's incredible. He gets the right result quickly, and he makes sure that people do the right thing. But we will have the best tax rates, the lowest energy costs. We have the lowest energy. We have tremendous amounts of energy, more than anybody else. We have the most oil and gas and coal, more than any other nation on earth. So that's a big advantage that we have over others. We have the lowest regulatory burden. In my first term, we cut more regulations than any other administration in history, and we're going to do about the same level right now or more if we can. The most advanced technology and the fairest trade deals anywhere in the world. And for decades before I took office, our country was run by legions of bureaucrats who were always looking for a reason to say no. Why? How can we say no? They wanted to say no. They thought that was their job, and it's really just the opposite. We work to say yes. So now we have a president in the White House who cuts through the red tape and excuses. We don't stand for excuses, and says yes to big ideas and bold initiatives and grand ambitions so that America can have great industries, great dreams, and to be the greatest nation on earth, which is where we are now, actually, in a very short period of time. We're rebuilding things that are incredible. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the best equipment. We have the best manufacturers of equipment. And South Korea is buying a lot of our weapons. We make the best. We have the planes and just about everything other than ships, and we'll be there very shortly with ships too. But the only reason it's not ships, because, I don't know, for some reason they stopped doing that. I guess they went on to other businesses, but there are some basics in life, and one of the things you need is ships. I always say you need steel, you need aluminum, you need this. There are things you don't need. A lot of things that a country doesn't need them, but things you need steel. Got to have steel, and we're redoing our steel, and some of the people in this room are very involved in that. We're redoing our industry. We're starting to produce large amounts of steel, massive amounts of steel. We'll be right at the top in a very short period of time. The mills are opening again, and they're opening up big. And again, it's national security, and it's because of tariffs. We're reclaiming our heritage as a nation of builders and doers, and we're pioneers in a sense, but we're really doing it again, but we're doing it even better than we did the first time, which is the first couple of 100 years. And we're pursuing this vision with unrelenting drive and really unprecedented success. In July, I proudly sounded law. It was very important. I went into the archives. We looked at every possible thing you could look at, and I signed into law the largest tax cuts in American history. And as you remember, in my first term, we cut taxes from 39% down to 21%. And now we've done even better than that, putting more money in the pockets of American families that make up the largest consumer market on earth. For businesses and manufacturers like those in this room, our tax law includes 100% expensing for all new factories, plants, and equipment. So that means you can write everything off in the first year. So that's like we had in the first, except this goes for a period of 10 years. Whereas the other was over a much shorter period of time. And I actually think that we had such tremendous success. I always said that was the single most important thing, the expensing, the one-year expensing. Upon taking office, I signed executive orders that require that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations have to be eliminated. I did that in the first term too, and it worked. So if you want a new regulation, you have to get rid of 10, and already we're exceeding that limit, reaching closer to 30 to 1. Our people have done that, our great secretaries and other people in the administration. So we've been actually at a level where we sign in a new regulation, they get rid of 30 old. We're sort of cleaning up the books because many of these regulations are obsolete, they don't belong. And some were so horrible, they were obsolete, but they really stopped projects from being built, and we're getting rid of all of them. We've pretty much done that. We have streamlined permitting for all new energy and mining projects. It used to take decades for an administration to get something approved, and now it's a process that will take, generally speaking, less than 28 days. In addition, across government, we're guaranteeing a rapid and expedited regulatory review for all new projects in the United States, and that's worth billions and billions of dollars to industry. You spent more money on trying to get something approved than you do in building the plant itself. You know, in Louisiana, my first term, there were 2 plants, and one was financed by a tremendous group of Japanese investors, and it was about $16 billion, LNG plants. Another one was financed by people from South Korea and others. LNG, both of them, massive LNG. They were in the review process. One was 15 years, one was 16 or 17 years, and they were then told, forget it, we're not going to get it approved. So I came into government, I heard about it, and I love Louisiana. We did very well there. We did well in just about all the states, but we did really well in Louisiana. And so I got involved. The one plant that was in for almost 15 years, I got it approved in one day. One day. In fact, when we called the people to say that they got approved, they didn't know what the hell we were talking about. They said, you got it approved. We sort of gave up on it. I said, no, you don't have to give up. We got it approved. The other one took me a little bit longer. I didn't do as good a job. It took me 1 week. And they got approved, and they got built. They're massive plants, and they're doing unbelievably. They're like setting records, LNG. Big, it's like the Empire State Building lying on its side. And all I know is, I looked at it. I said, what kind of a building is that? All it's got is pipes going back and forth. I never saw anything like it. But whatever it is, it works. And they've been very, very successful. But think of it, 14 and 15 years, and I got one approved in one day and one approved in 1 week, and they've been doing great, and they've been good for the environment. I've shrunk the size of government for the first time in many years since January. 100,000 bureaucrats have left the federal payroll. You've probably seen that. So we're creating real jobs. We're getting rid of wasteful jobs. Government spending is down 2.5% this quarter compared to 1 year ago. It was going through the roof in the previous administration. And in stark contrast to 4 years ago. I mean, if you look, 100% of all new jobs created in America under my administration have been created by the private sector. Think of that. The government created no new jobs. The private sector created the record number of jobs that we're talking about. That's a country. That's really a success. It's easy to create government jobs. I could say, add a lot of people to your payrolls. I can fake up the numbers if I want, but that's not the way you build a great country. You don't do that here, and that's not the way. But it's a good way to show good numbers, I'll tell you. You just tell everybody, hire a lot of people. That's what they used to do under the Biden administration Under Barack Hussein Obama, you had, they'd say, hire a lot of people so we can make our numbers look good. I do the opposite. And we have real numbers. These are real numbers. There's truly no better time to invest in the USA. The results speak for themselves. Since the election, TSMC has pledged to invest $100 billion in the United States. So they're coming in from Taiwan. We have tremendous numbers of companies coming from Taiwan and building in the U.S. Apple, $600 billion investment. Hyundai, $26 billion. Micron, $200 billion. SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle, over $500 billion. Amazon, $35 billion. Pfizer, $70 billion. Jera, $200 billion. Google, $25 billion. NVIDIA, $500 billion. Genentech, $50 billion. Johnson & Johnson, $57. We're bringing back all of our pharmaceutical business. IBM, $150 billion. AstraZeneca, $50 billion, among many others, many others, too many to talk about. But one of the most significant factors in this remarkable surge of new investment has been my transformation of trade policy. 8 years ago, I came to this very summit. I was here. Does anybody remember? I don't know. I remember. Does anybody remember what I said? Yeah, there's a few hands up there. It must have been a great speech. 3 people. It's not too many people. But there's no reason to, because you saw whatever I said, I did. And for the first time, I laid out the principle that economic security is national security. Economic security, that's for South Korea, that's for any country. But economic security is, in fact, national security. I made the case that the global trading system was broken and in urgent need of reform, had to be fixed. The system had been exploited by countries that broke the rules at the expense of countries that followed the rules to a T, and asked the nations of APEC to be our partners in making the system fair and more sustainable for all of us, and we all work together, the APEC nations. 8 years later, as I'm back here in Asia, and I'm pleased to say that the positive vision for revolutionary reform I laid out, it seems like a long time ago, is now a reality. What really seems amazing is that we did all these things. We stopped a lot of wars. We did so many different things, made our country strong. Thank you. Thank you. And the campaign seemed like so long ago. And I was reading something today in one of the journals, and they said, can you believe it? 1 year ago, I was campaigning to win. Think of that. It was about a week. In a week, it'll be November 5th. And November 5th was the election. I said, can you imagine that? Here I am, president. We've done so many different things economically, militarily, peace-wise, peace through strength. And yet, 1 year ago, it's not long ago, I was campaigning. We didn't win. We were campaigning, and then we had the election, and we had a great election. And the spirit in our country is like incredible. If you compare that, we lost a lot of spirit in our country. Our country is depressed. They were very depressed, and they had a right to be. But around the world, we're signing one trade deal after another to balance our relationships on the basis of reciprocity. Very important word. On this trip alone, I've signed groundbreaking agreements with Malaysia, Cambodia, Japan. And our deal with the Republic of Korea will be finalized very soon, like moments or very shortly thereafter. These agreements will be incredible victories for all of us, because everyone is better off when we have stable partnerships, not plagued by chronic problems and imbalances. Probably you know that President Xi of China is coming tomorrow here, and we're going to be, I hope, making a deal. I think we're going to have a deal. I think it'll be a good deal for both. And that's really a great result. That's better than fighting and going through all sorts of problems and, no reason for it. I think it's going to be a great deal for both, so I'll be meeting him tomorrow. A lot of people are interested. They're also interested in what we're doing, but they're interested in that. I can tell you a lot. The world is watching, and I think we'll have something that's very exciting for everybody, and that's also good for South Korea. It's good for all nations. We're ending gaping trade deficits, unfair trade barriers to market access, insecure supply chains, weak, pathetic supply chains, and much, much more. We had such bad supply chains under the last administration. It was embarrassing. And we're entering a new era of trade that truly works for both sides. Got to work for everybody. You know, deals have to be good for everybody. I've heard that all the time, and I never really believed it, I'll be honest. I said, if you make a great deal. The best deals are deals that work for everybody, especially when you're talking about nations. You know, when you're talking about nations, it really is a little bit different than you're doing a business deal and you want to just rip their hearts out, right? These guys know what I mean. They've ripped out so many hearts. But when you have nations, it's a little bit different, you know? You gotta all balance out a little bit. When I announced reciprocal tariffs last April, some people thought it was wonderful and others really weren't so sure. They weren't sure. They didn't understand tariffs because tariffs were used against us. We didn't use tariffs stupidly. And we do now. National security. This week we proved once and for all that there were no critics left. The only critics are people that took advantage of us for many years, and now they're not able to do that. The deals we're signing with our friends and partners are making our alliances closer and stronger than ever before, and they respect us because it was so foolish. The people that ran our country were so foolish. With these agreements, our nations will extend our vital security alliances into the realm of economic security for the first time ever. We're forging new partnerships on strategically important industries like shipbuilding, energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, and, very important pharmaceuticals. We learned that during COVID. We had to rely on other countries to give us pharmaceuticals. You can't do that. You have to, certain industries you want to have there. You want to have your medicines made ideally in your own country. Many of our agreements also include deepening collaboration of industries of the future, such as nuclear, quantum, artificial intelligence, where America is number one by a lot. Actually, we're really number one by a lot. We're number one in military consequence. We're number one in military in the quality of the weapons. That's why everyone wants to buy for us. I'll tell you what we have a long lead on is submarines, nuclear submarines. We are so far advanced that by perhaps 20, 25 years. We're 25 years ahead of any competition. And not only are the tariffs strengthening our alliances, they're also bringing peace to the world. On Sunday in Malaysia, we signed the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accords, ending forever the war between Cambodia and Thailand. Thank you. Thank you. You know, it's interesting. We were making trade deals with Cambodia and with Thailand, and I sort of watch what I do. I don't go to the beach and sleep all day. I like to watch. And I see Cambodia, Thailand, among many other nations. And this is true for numerous other deals too. But I see Cambodia, Thailand, and I read a front page story about the fact that there were thousands of dead people along the border. And they fought for a long time. And I said, wait a minute, we're making deals? And they're starting a war? They were just starting, and it was vicious. Thousands of people were killed along the border, their two borders. And I said, let's call the head. I didn't know the heads of either one. I called them. They were both great people and sort of reasonable. I said, listen, you want a trade deal? We're not going to make a deal with you if you're going to be in war. Then I called Cambodia. I called Thailand. I called Cambodia, back and forth. And after about 2 days, we ended up with the help of Malaysia. Malaysia was like a mediator. We used a beautiful facility in Malaysia because it was too hot. The other two, and I don't mean hot weather-wise. I mean it was hot. It was too hot with bullets flying all over the place. And Malaysia was fantastic, and they helped implement it. The prime minister was great guy. Just left him. And within 2 days, we signed a deal. And the two people came in, they were like best friends. It was a beautiful thing to see. We saved, probably millions of lives. They've had a tempestuous relationship I said, for how many years? 500 years. I said, that's a long time. That's a long time. But we think this is going to be, hopefully, I use the word everlasting. Same thing in the Middle East. We hope it's going to be everlasting peace. They've never had peace. They've 3,000 years, and we signed in the Middle East. But I've ended 8 wars in 8 months, and in many instances, trade has played a big part in getting those wars ended. On top of it all, tariffs now projected to reduce our deficit by $4 trillion over the next 10 years, and I think actually much more than that. That's national security, because you can't have deficits and you can't have debt all over the place. And it stops inflation and strengthening the dollar and ultimately balancing our federal budget, which I think we're going to do very quickly, only because of our policy of fair tariffs. And for any company that does not wish to pay the tariff, I say, you know, you could build your factory in America. If you build your factory in America, there are zero tariffs. But, you know, again, going back to the wars, it's so important. If you look at India and Pakistan, so I'm doing a trade deal with India, and I have great respect and love. As you know, for Prime Minister Modi, we have a great relationship. Likewise, the Prime Minister of Pakistan is a great guy, and the Field Marshal, they have a Field Marshal. You know why he's a Field Marshal? He's a great fighter. He really is. He's a great guy, too. And so I know them all. And I'm reading that 7 planes were shot down. They're going at it, and they're really starting to go. And it's a big thing. These are 2 nuclear nations, and they're really going at it. And I called Prime Minister Modi. I said, we can't make a trade deal with you. No, we must make a trade deal. I said, no, we can't. You're starting a war with Pakistan. We're not going to do it. And then I called Pakistan. I said, we're not going to do trade with you because you're fighting with India. And, you know, 2 nuclear nations. And they said, no, you should let us fight. They both said that. You know, they're warring. They're strong people, I'll tell you what. Prime Minister Modi is the nicest looking guy. He says, and he looks like you'd like to have your father, like, he's a killer. He's tough as hell. No, we will fight. I said, whoa, this is the same man that I know. But after a little while, and they're good people, and after literally 2 days, they called up and they said, we understand, and they stopped fighting. How is that? Isn't that amazing? Now, you think Biden would have done that? I don't think so. Most people wouldn't have thought of it, but, you know, they wouldn't have thought of it. No, but here we are, we're doing deals. So you add an extra sentence, and you say you have to stop shooting at each other. 7 planes were shot down. You have to stop the war. And they stopped the war. And if it weren't for the tariffs, I said I was going to put 250% tariffs on each country, which means that you'll never do business. In other words, there's nothing you can sell for 250%. That means that's a nice way of saying we don't want to do business with you. You don't have to say that, because that's a nasty, we don't want to do business. No. You say, we're going to put 250% tariffs if you don't stop the war. And they understood that, and within 48 hours, we had no war, no people killed. I mean, it's makes me feel so good. It's we saved millions and millions of lives with all of them. Azerbaijan. If you look at it, just take a look at that one. That was going on for, I think, 38 years, right? And President Putin called me. He said, "It's amazing. It's amazing. We couldn't get that war stopped. 38 years it went on, millions of people killed, and we got it done." And the 2 countries came in, and they were in the White House, and they started off here. And they got closer, 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 closer. After an hour, they were hugging each other in peace. It was amazing, actually. It was beautiful to see 2 very good countries, 2 very good leaders. One was there for 22 years, one was there for 7. And they both said, my entire political life, all I did was shoot people on the other side. And we got it closed up. And we did that 8 times. The only one I didn't do is Russia, Ukraine, but that'll get done too. That'll get done. I thought that was going to be an easy one because of my relationship with President Putin. He turned out to be a little different, but I think it'll get done. It would have never started if I were president. That war would have never, ever started. So we've used trade to create peace in a lot of different locations. We also solved the war in Africa, Congo, Republic of Congo, and Rwanda. That was much smaller to do with trade, more to do with common sense. They were fighting for years. 10 million people were dead, and we got that one done too. So we did a lot of them. We did 8 in 8 months, And I think the other one's going to come along. I really think so. I thought that would have been one of the easier. Who would have thought we created peace in the Middle East but didn't get Russia and Ukraine? Because peace in the Middle East was undoable. They're shaking their heads. They're agreeing. It was undoable. We got it done. 3,000 years, okay? They never had peace. They never had anything like it. We have all countries signed up, and the level of spirit and everything. I think it's going to hold for a long time, hopefully forever. Hopefully that's an everlasting one, too. So in conclusion, at some point in your careers, every great business person and CEO in this room today has faced critics who said reform, innovation, and bold action would only lead to a total disaster. But none of us would be here if we had listened to the small minds with no vision. These are small minds with no vision. They had no understanding of success. They had no understanding of life and death. True success comes from having the confidence and the courage to prove the doubters wrong. And oftentimes you'll go the opposite way of almost everybody, and you'll be the one that's right, and the others will be the one that's wrong. And that's where you have your greatest successes. And that's what America and our Indo-Pacific partners really are doing this week, and what our businesses and entrepreneurs do each and every day. That's what you do, the most successful people in the world. Together, we're solving the challenges that no one before us has ever been able to solve, and we're forging a free and open Indo-Pacific, and for all of the people, we're creating a future of dignity and security, prosperity and pride. From the rolling hills of San Francisco to the gleaming streets of Seoul, from the bustling factories of Toledo, Ohio, to the bright lights of Tokyo, from Pittsburgh to Palawan, from Boston to Bangkok, from Detroit to Da Nang, and from Cleveland to right here in Gwangju. Nice place. Did I do good with that one? Did I do okay? Gwangju. Good, beautiful place, by the way. We're strengthening old friendships, forging new bonds, building new factories, pioneering new industries, and creating a dramatically better world for our children and for generations to come. Together, we will build a future of strong, independent nations on both sides of the vast ocean, joined by our common interests, united by common values, and reaching constantly toward a richer, safer, and more peaceful Pacific with fairness, persistence, and common sense. That's such an important two words. We will build together, we will trade together, we will prosper together, we will thrive together, and above all, we will win together like never before. We're going to have an incredible relationship together for generations to come. And I just want to thank everybody in the room. I know so many of you. You're incredible people. God bless you. God bless the nations of this great region, and God bless America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. We have Jonas Gahr here, who is as you know, the Prime Minister of Norway. He's a great gentleman, highly respected, beloved in his country. And we've had talks on the war with Ukraine and Russia and trade. We're doing very well, I think, on both. We've had some pretty good movement in every respect. The war is very important that it ends with, I used to say, 2,500 people a week dying, young people, mostly soldiers from Russia and Ukraine. And we want to end that war. We want to end it quickly. And I think we've made a lot of progress. And we'll see what happens. This next few days is going to be very important. Meetings are taking place right now. Additionally, we talked about trade, and we get along very well on trade. We'll do something, but I think the Prime Minister knows that over the years, the United States has been very good to a lot of people, and it's time for us to benefit also. So we're going to have a good relationship on trade, and we discussed other things also. But Mr. Prime Minister, it's an honor to have you the White House. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This year is 200 years since the first immigration from Norway to the U.S. We come here early in your term. Appreciate that you take time. We have highlighted that very close cooperation. We are allies. We look after security in the north, in the Arctic. A lot of confidence between our services. We have discussed in detail the war in Ukraine. I have saluted the President for his initiative to make progress towards something that can be a ceasefire and an end to this terrible conflict. It is a complex picture, but it needs political will and push, and we have exchanged ideas on that. And then I think the President and his team have been open to hear our perspectives. And on trade, we have also emphasized that we can benefit, both of us, by trading. We can be complementary, and we can find good solutions. But first of all, I appreciate, Mr. President, the spirit and the tone of this conversation, which has been confirmation of a very strong partnership.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Can I ask you first, Mr. President, have you spoken about the tariff that you want to impose on Norway? Is there a chance that you can lower?
We spoke about trade, and we understand each other very well. I think we'll have no problem.
You think that you will get an agreement?
I think we'll have no problem whatsoever with Norway.
Mr. President, a possible visit to Norway? Did you discuss a possible visit for President Trump to
We
Norway?
didn't, but I love it. I mean, I've been there, and it is a beautiful place. They have.
But I told the President that, he is receiving us early in the term. He's welcome to visit Norway. We would like to have him, and it will be another way of emphasizing this strong friendship.
Mr. President, Norway has been a staunch supporter of Ukraine since the Russian invasion in 2022. Has something been discussed here today that may have altered your views on things?
No, we want to, very simply, I have no allegiance to anybody. I have allegiance to saving lives, and I want to save a lot of lives. A lot of young people, mostly young people. It's the war. It's the soldiers. And if we can do that, also, as you know, I got started because the money that's been spent on this war is insane. It should have never happened. And it would have never happened if I were president. But Biden spent $350 billion on this, and it's a shame. And that's what got me involved. And then I looked at, and I see the results. It's horrible. It's a killing field. 5,000 soldiers a week on average. And we want to stop that. We both want to stop that for a lot of reasons, but I would say that is my number one reason.
Why do you think that you will get Russia to accept a deal that also Ukraine and Europe is willing to accept?
I think so, yeah. I do. I believe they will accept, and I think we're going to get this over with. I hope so, soon.
You continue to lack support from NATO allies in your goal of obtaining Greenland. How will you proceed if you don't get that support?
Well, Greenland's going to be interesting, but that's for another day. I think we need that for international peace.
What are you expecting of your
And if
allies?
you don't have that, I think it's a big threat to our world. So I think Greenland's very important for international peace. Yeah, please go ahead.
Mr. President, this morning in a Truth Social post, you used the words, Vladimir, stop. That seemed like a slightly different message, a personal message. What is your level of frustration with President Putin?
I didn't like last night. I wasn't happy with it. And we're in the midst of talking peace, and missiles were fired. And I was not happy with it. That's what I meant, and that's, what it is. I assume that's what you mean.
Sorry,
Yeah,
if
I
the
assume.
bombs keep falling, will you consider additional sanctions toward Russia, or what will you do if President Putin does
I'd
not
rather answer
respond?
that question in a week. I want to see if we can have a deal. No reason to answer it now, but I won't be happy. Let me put it that way. Things will happen.
Mr. President, why are you not putting more pressure on Russia? I know a lot of Europeans.
Putting a lot of pressure. You don't know what pressure I'm putting on Russia. They're dealing. You have no idea what pressure I'm putting on Russia. We're putting a lot of pressure.
Can you maybe tell us that?
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia, and Russia knows that, and some people that are close to it know, or he wouldn't be talking right now. The Prime Minister understands that better than anybody. He wouldn't be talking right now. He's talking, and we're putting a lot of pressure. I think he wants to make a deal. We're going to find out very soon, but it takes two to tango, and you have to have Ukraine want to make a deal too, and they're being hit very hard, and I do believe they want to make a deal.
Mr. Prime Minister, if I may.
You said that the Ukraine have to give some territory to win peace, among them Crimea. Do you stand by that? And I know that the former NATO General Secretary today has told you that he does not agree, and he believes in territorial integrity of the Ukraine. How will you deal with that with your allies? And do you stand by that Ukraine have to give?
Former Secretary General happens to be right here, so they can't put words in his mouth. He's been a great general, frankly. It was because that's what you are. Really, you're a general. But he's been a great Secretary General. We had a tremendous relationship, very successful, and I think he could speak for himself. He's right here.
But do you still agree that Ukraine have to give some territory away to win peace?
Well, it depends what territory. They've been fighting. They've lost a lot of territory. We'll do the best we can. Working with Ukraine, we'll do the best we can. But they lost a lot of territory. When you say Crimea, that was handed over during a president named Barack Hussein Obama. That had nothing to do with me, Crimea. That was 11 years ago with Obama. And they made a decision. There wasn't a bullet fired. There was no fighting. There was no anything. They just handed it over. Now they say, well, can you get it back? I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to do. That was given by Barack Obama when he was president, not by Donald Trump.
Thank you,
Mr. President, you had a long meeting, Mr. President.
Proposal that you put on the table, it's a 30-day ceasefire proposal. Your national security team presented it to both Ukraine and Russia. 2 months ago, Ukraine agreed to that ceasefire proposal. Immediately, Russia has not. And my question is Russia the obstacle to peace based upon that, just getting to that 30-day ceasefire?
I don't think so. I think that they both want peace right now. They're ready to do something. We'll see what happens. Complicated, very complicated. But I think they are both very much looking to make a deal. Marco, what would you say?
Well, first of all, what was put before our partners was options to discuss about things that it would take to end a war. This war is endable. Both sides just have to agree to it. We've shown them a pathway forward. We've discussed those ideas. It was a good meeting yesterday. There'll be good meetings over the weekend. We've shown them the finish line. We need both of them to say yes. But what happened last night with those missile strikes should remind everybody of why this war needs to end. It's horrible those missiles landed. What's even worse is there are today people that were alive yesterday that are not alive today because this war continues, and the president wants to stop it. And everyone should be thanking the president for being a peacemaker and trying to save lives. That's what we're trying to do here. It's not our war. We didn't start it, as you know. But we're trying to end the dying. We're trying to end the destruction. And we've shown the path forward. We can see the finish line, but both of them have to get there. We're going to do everything we can to help them get there, but they have to ultimately say yes.
And we are using a lot of pressure on both. If you think we're just in there because we're nice people, and we are nice people, but we're using a lot of pressure on both.
What concessions, Mr. President, and to your national security team, what concessions has Russia offered up thus far to get to the point where you're closer to peace?
Stopping the war. Stopping taking the whole country. Pretty big concession.
Mr. President, if you are going to take down the tariffs, what do you want Norway to buy more of from the U.S.?
To buy more? Well, you don't need snow. You don't need skis. You don't need ski champions either, right? You have a lot of them. We just want to keep the relationship the way it is. We've had a great relationship. I think now maybe closer than ever, but we've had a great relationship with Norway. I think just keep it the way it is. You can't do better.
Really? Not even by, say, a fight?
Well, if they want to give us some additional concessions, that's okay. You can't do much better. Yes.
Mr. President, you had a long meeting with Norway today. You said that Norway is doing a lot of things right, but on the Ukraine, if I can ask both you and the Prime Minister, did you find common ground today on Ukraine and the peace plan?
Totally. It's totally common ground. the Prime Minister can speak about it, but I can just say he wants to see people stop dying more than anything else, and he'd like to see it end. He's going to help us end it.
Can I say that to move towards an end of this war, U.S. engagement is critical, and President Trump made that possible. That is clear, that is obvious, it's really happening. Now the important thing is that both parties have to know that they have to deliver, and they have to feel the pressure to deliver. Ukraine is under attack. They are defending themselves. Lives are being lost. And we believe very firmly that there needs to be a ceasefire, the initiative taken by the US some time ago. It needs to be respected. And then to move on to something which both parties can own. That is the complicated part in such a dramatic war. And here I believe Europeans and Americans working together, as we do much closer now. And I salute the team of President Trump of being, open in that process. We had a good discussion on this today. And then we have to move on, and we cannot lose time because this is too much drama happening. One thing is people losing their lives, but it is a bad thing for Europe, and it's a bad thing for the world to having such a broad conflict going on. It can have ramifications far beyond Ukraine.
Mr. President, follow-up question on China.
Mr. President, if I forgot my question. I wanted to ask about
sorry. That happens.
It happens sometimes, yeah. No, Mr. President, I wanted to ask about the. Zelensky has said that he wants more Patriot missiles. So far, has been no response from the United States. If the United States decides to pull out of negotiating for peace, trying to broker peace, does that also mean a no on Patriot missiles, a no on sharing intelligence with Ukraine?
Let's see what happens. I think we're going to make a deal. And if we make a deal, that'll be wonderful. We won't have to worry about your question. You can ask that question in 2 weeks, and we'll see. But I think we're getting very close. The Prime Minister feels the same way, and we'll hopefully not have to answer that question.
Mr. President, Norway is the third country to be officially invited to the White House after Liberation Day. Why did you invite Norway so soon to the White House?
Because I like them. And I like your Prime Minister, and I like the way your government runs. And I respect the King. He's highly respected in Norway. It's a great thing, not an easy thing to do. He's done a great job. Yeah.
Would you like an invitation to visit the King?
Absolutely. You get me that invitation.
I just told the President he's welcome to visit Norway.
President Trump, we're quite informed.
Yeah,
you said before that you like the Norwegian Petroleum Fund, and I'm wondering if that has been up for discussion today, the way that we have structured our money and whether.
Well, this fund was created in the late 1990s to save for future generations the income from our oil and gas. Norwegians should continue to work as hard, dedicated, innovate and move forward, despite having these incomes, which we happen to be in the period of our history where we can harvest, and we have transferred that into investments, half of them, by the way, here in the United States. So I think this is a model which we have been able to explore. If we can share experiences, and we do with our colleagues in the US, you never copy this one-to-one, but there can be techniques and way of working that we have used in organizing our fund. Jens Stoltenberg was the finance minister when the first dollar entered that fund. So he is a safe hand to have as a finance minister today. What do you say?
No, and as you said, Mr. Prime Minister, we are ready to sit down with the US to also work with them on if they want to establish a sovereign wealth fund, because we have a good experience with our fund. And I think that one example of how we work together with the United States is that half the fund, close to $1 trillion US, are invested in the United States, mainly in equity, but also some in fixed income, including government bonds. So this is an expression of trust in the United States, expressed by the strong investment of the sovereign wealth fund. Then just briefly on Ukraine, since it was mentioned, we had a very good and extensive discussion about Ukraine, the path forward to peace. And as the Prime Minister said, we commend the US for pushing forward to try to find a negotiated solution. At the same time, we need to continue to support Ukraine, and therefore I'm proud that Norway has actually tripled the military support to Ukraine. And this year we will allocate close to $8 billion to Ukraine. That will strengthen them and also their hand on the negotiating table.
If I may add to that, if there's a peace, and there will be a peace, we have a common responsibility in securing democratic Ukraine for the future. And the best security guarantee they can have is the ability to defend themselves. And we are investing in that.
Mr. Prime Minister,
Mr.
if I may,
President, as it relates to tariffs, Mr. President, when you unveiled your reciprocal tariffs on April the 2nd, the tariff rate for Norway was 15%. Based upon your conversations that you've had today with the Prime Minister, do you see that tariff rate coming down from what you proposed just a few weeks ago?
Well, they have a great fund of $2 trillion. It's a big fund. And they don't have any debt. So I think they'd probably be willing to pay us more than that, I hope.
Are the nations in agreement of which countries?
Mr. President,
Yes.
in 2018, your former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called for an end to Russian occupation of Crimea. Why has this administration changed its stance on territorial concessions for Crimea?
Well, the war started. It would have never started if I were president. This is a war that is a horrible. All wars are horrible. This one is in particular bad. And I don't know that you can ever say there's going to be a winner to this, because so many lives have been lost. Not only soldiers, I mean, a lot of lives have been lost. I think that we want to do one very simple thing. It would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance it was going to. And it didn't. People say, how do you know that? Number one, it didn't happen. We never even discussed it. I would talk to Putin about it. It was the apple of his eye. Ukraine was the apple of Putin's eye, but there was never even a thought that he'd go in. And I think he understood that I would not be happy if he did. And it was only when I got out, and when you mention what happened to Ukraine years ago under President Obama and a vice president that was also president later, unfortunately for this country, what happened is large chunks of land were given up, and it was called Crimea, and that was a big thing. That was a big moment. But this isn't my war. This is Biden's war. This is a war that Biden was president when this war happened. But I'm trying to put out the fire, and I think we'll be successful. And if we do, we're going to save a lot of lives. Otherwise, and the Prime Minister had a statement. He said, "This is just a point in time. We're very lucky because this is a point. And if this doesn't happen, this could go on for a long time."
Mr. President, will you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome, sir?
Future Democrat president?
I don't think he will. I think he wants to make peace. I think he wants to end it, and I feel pretty confident of that. But we're gonna know pretty soon.
Mr. President, will you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome?
Yes, I will.
Which leaders do you want to meet, sir?
Well, I'd like to meet them all. That would be nice. I'd like to take care of all of them, but we have many of them there, and they all want to meet. They want to meet about trade. And we are making some great inroads and great deals. You might want to speak about that, Mr. Secretary.
We had a very successful bilateral meeting with the Republic of South Korea today. We may be moving faster than I thought, and we will be talking technical terms as early as next week, as we reach an agreement on understanding as soon as next week. So South Koreans came early. They came with their A game, and we will see if they follow through on that.
Do you think you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize if you manage to create?
Do I deserve the Nobel Peace?
If you manage to create peace?
Well, maybe for the Abraham Accords. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this one, but they say for the Abraham Accords. And by the way, speaking of that, we're going to be filling it up. A lot of countries want to come into the Abraham Accords. We have 4. And Biden did nothing on that one, too. It's the same 4. But they're great countries, and they were brave doing it, and it's worked out very well. And we're going to be filling up the Abraham Accords. They're going to be, I think, filling it up very rapidly. Marco, could you say something about that?
There's great, enormous opportunity to grow the Abraham Accords. But I would just point to one thing. Of all the leaders in the world today, no leader is working harder to prevent wars or end them than President Trump is right now. That's why we're talking to Iran. That's why we're engaged with Ukraine and Russia. It's the desire to prevent these wars from breaking out and to end the ones that exist already. And again, I just think it's tremendous for our country to be led by a president who desires to bring peace and establish peace and protect peace. So it's hard work.
Mr. President.
You know, Marco just mentioned something that maybe we should talk about for just a second, if we could, Mr. Prime Minister. And you're involved in it too, because you've been involved in the world and peace. But I think we're doing very well with respect to Iran, and we're having very serious meetings. And there are only two options, and the one option is not a good option. It's not a good option at all. And I think we're doing very well on an agreement with Iran, but that one, we're doing a lot of things, I will say, but that one is well on its way. We could have a very, very good decision, and a lot of lives will be saved.
Mr. President, on the economy, there was a slowdown as it relates to home sales in the month of March, the slowest pace since 2009. Is that an economic indicator, and perhaps the Treasury Secretary can weigh in on this as well, is that an economic indicator that concerns you about the broader U.S. economy?
No, they had very good numbers on housing today, extremely good numbers, and that's despite interest rates, because, you know, if you look at what happened, everyone said, oh, I said I was going to get prices down. I did. Energy just hit $1.98 in a couple of states. It's way down. Energy's down, and we're about $64 a barrel. When I came in, and we were looking at $89, $90, $95. And by the way, that helps us solve the war too. Having those energy prices is a big incentive for Russia to also agree with solving the war problem. Groceries are down. When I was with you 2 months ago, you were complaining about eggs. I said, I just got here. I was here for about a week when the press started saying about eggs have gone through the roof. I said, I just got here. Tell me about eggs. And they happened. They went through the roof, and you couldn't get them. So we just had a big Easter egg hunt at the White House. Thousands and thousands of eggs, and the price was down 87%. So we did a great job. Housing is doing very well. We should lower interest rates. That's the Fed. I hope they lower interest rates. That's the smart thing to do. Be ahead a little bit, although already it's a little bit late. But in the end, we just have a great country. We have a very strong country, and we have every other country. I can't think of one country that doesn't want to negotiate a deal. And they either negotiate a deal or we set a deal that we think is fair. Because we don't have to go through all of these. It would be physically impossible. You know, you have so many people that really understand it, which is a very small group of people here. And we are going to, at some point, just set prices for deals. Some will be tariffed. Some treated us very unfairly. They'll be tariffed higher than others. But we've been ripped off for many, many years. The United States has been ripped off like no country probably in the history of the world has been ripped off for 45, 50 years. And countries have gotten rich by doing that with the United States. We've taken care of their militaries, and military is another subject we talk about. We're not going to make that subject to any of the deals, but you know the same countries that I do, where we virtually take care of their military and then don't get treated fairly on trade. So the people, and I don't blame those countries, I blame the people that sat at that beautiful desk right behind you, because those people didn't do the job for this country, and they let us lose $4 billion a day on trade. We were losing $4 or $5 billion a day on trade when I got here, and now we're going to be much better than breaking even, and we're going to be making $4 or $5 billion a day on trade. So, but I don't blame any country, not the worst of them. We were abused by countries. I blame the President of the United States that happened to be sitting when these deals were made. Disgraceful. When I was here, we had a great 4 years. We had the most successful economy in the history of our country, my first term. And we were very tough on trade. And with China, as you know, they paid hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. But nobody else ever did that. China paid not 10 cents to any other president. And but not only China, virtually every country got away with murder. And we just can't let that happen. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We have a very big signing today having to do with Alaska, a place that I'm very familiar with. And we're making it greater, bigger, and more powerful, and job producing. It's an economic gold mine, so to speak. And I signed this years ago, and Biden unsigned it for me. This was something that should have been long operating and making billions of dollars for our country and supplying a lot of energy and minerals and everything else that we're talking about. And they undid it and wasted a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort. And now we're starting again, and this time we have plenty of time to get it done, and it's going to be done properly. I'd like to ask your Department of Interior head, who has done a fantastic job, Doug Burgum, to say a few words about it. And we'll go to Chris after you and anybody else that wants to say something. And it's a very powerful deal, very, very big deal from the standpoint of minerals and energy. So thank you all for being here. Doug, please go ahead.
Well, thank you, President Trump. Yesterday is a historic day. President Trump, as he promised when he was running in the election to the American people, that he was going to unlock the potential of this country. He was going to unlock America's mineral wealth. He was going to generate returns for American people. And he was going to importantly bolster the critical supply chains around critical minerals for our country. On day one, he signed in a very important executive order unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential. And this is part of the continuation. There's a number of things that have already happened with Alaska that are moving forward. There's more to come, but big milestone today. In reversing this Biden era decision about the Ambler Road, this is a 211-mile long road that begins over 200 miles north of Fairbanks off the Hall Road that goes up to the North Slope. This road goes through an area where there's no roads. Ambler Mining District at the end of that has some of the richest mining deposits in all of America and in all of the world. And these are minerals that are absolutely essential to defense, to industry moving forward today. Just take copper alone. This is one of the richest copper locations in the country. And of course, today to build a data center, you can have tens of thousands of tons of copper required for that. Even a single family home today may have as much as 400 pounds of copper in a home. And we have, as a nation, in the past, basically gotten out of the mineral in energy and mining area. President Trump, when he said drill baby drill, he also was mine baby mine. We've got to get back in the mining business. China controls 85 to 100% of all the mining and refining of the top 20 critical minerals. And in this mine area up there, we got copper, lead, zinc, gold, silver, gallium, germanium. So rich in all of the minerals that we need to win the AI arms race against China and to prosper as a country. And so, again, today this was history being made. When some of this was set aside in 1980 by Jimmy Carter, there was a special authority created for presidents to decide if there was a dispute. And so for the first time in history, a president is actually using that authority, President Trump, as he does, using his authority for the benefit of the American people. And the appeal came in from the state of Alaska asking that this road be built. Alaska's not a colony, they're a state. They have an opportunity to build roads like any other state. With this signing, President Trump, Alaska can go ahead and build this road. It'll be a toll road, not a public road. It's a toll road, so it'll be controlled in terms of traffic. It's a gravel road. It'll be sensitive to the environment. There'll be collaboration with the Native Alaskan corporations in terms of how it's built and how it's used, supporting the Alaskan Native tribes with subsistence hunting regulations on either side of this. But this opens up a wealth of resources. In addition, there's going to be an announcement made later today that is part of this announcement that the Department of War, the United States government is making an investment in Trilogy Minerals. They're one of the companies that has mining claims in this area that is a remote wilderness right now. And again, making that investment so we can make sure that we're securing these critical mineral supplies, and that ownership in that company will benefit the American people. With that, I'll kick it over to Chris Wright.
Thank you, Doug, and what a huge thank you to the President today. This is a tremendous achievement for the people of Alaska. We were in the North Slope of Alaska a few months ago celebrating energy development there. They want jobs and opportunity to develop the resources on their lands. This is another major step forward. We say energy is the lifeblood of society, the circulatory system. Minerals and metals, they're the skeletal infrastructure, the physical upholding of everything we do. Everywhere we walk and operate, your cameras, everything you hold are made out of metals and minerals. President Biden thought it was appropriate to offshore both of these industries outside of our country. That has not left us in a strong place. President Trump, in his first term, and even more strongly in his second term, is bringing those industries back to our country. America was a mining powerhouse for a long, long time, and our mining industry got squelched. Now we're seeing it come back to life. You saw the President's truth not long ago about a deal for lithium production in Nevada just a week or so ago. This will more than tenfold increase American lithium production. And this infrastructure, this mining road in the Ambler Mining District, will just have immense impact on future mining opportunities for our country's security and economic opportunities for the people of Alaska. Our critical minerals and mining expert within the administration is standing right next to me, David Copley. I'll see if he wants to add any words.
This is a really big deal for the American mining industry, and I think it shows the President's seriousness about getting this industry going and making sure we have the critical minerals we need for our defense industrial base and for our broader economy.
Thank you very much. And I think we want to get this going by a certain time, so I signed it. And Will, I'm going to give it to you, and you get it filed. And
sir.
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
It's a big job. Thank you very much. So we created a great deal of wealth for that part of the world and that part of our country by doing this long, very difficult road to build, and we'll be talking about that sometime later. But it's a great deal for our country. It's a great deal for the people of our country and for the taxpayers of our country. And if you have any questions on that, let me know. Steve?
When do you expect the road to be constructed? I mean, how quickly will that get underway?
Well, this road, it's an industrial road. It'll have ownership. It'll likely be split between the state of Alaska, the federal government, and the Native Alaska corporations. We would expect that construction would begin next spring with planning throughout this winter. The 211-mile long road will be a gravel road with a solid design base to handle the weight of the trucks that are going in and out. This is typical design that far north because asphalt with a freeze-thaw cycle, very difficult with asphalt or concrete. So gravel, a fantastic gravel road is going to have the least impact on the environment, going to be the best suited purpose. Alaska's done this in the past with the Red Dog mine. They built a toll road that again has ownership. The companies that use the road pay to transit that road. So this is an economic model used around the world in mining districts. We'll apply it right here. And again, it's going to generate revenue for the American people and for the citizens of Alaska as opposed to a cost.
And also 2 bridges. We're going to build 2 bridges that will be able to complete, and we'll get them up very quickly.
And how long to complete? I mean, 211 miles, that's a lot.
Yes, we'll get it done in less than a year.
It's going to come in three phases. The first road, as President Trump said, will go quickly, which is they call it a pilot road. We'll build a single lane gravel road through the full duration of it. That'll be then expanded to a second phase and then a third phase over time. But again, we want to get that pilot road built because then we can help get materials back to help the mine get started quickly as well.
Mr. President, there's negotiations happening with your team in Egypt right now over your proposed peace plan. It was reported by Axios over the weekend that you had a call with Prime Minister Netanyahu where you told him to stop being so negative and to take the win when it came to Hamas's response to that. Is that true? And
no, it's not true. He's been very positive. He's been very positive on the deal. Everybody is. I think every nation is. We have just about every nation working on this deal and trying to get it done. Something that you could say 3,000 years if you look at it in certain ways, or you could say centuries, but this is a deal that incredibly everyone just came together. They all came together. No, Israel's been great. They've all been good, Caitlin.
And in the negotiations, do you have any red lines in terms of Hamas disarming and whatnot? Are there any places you're willing to do?
If certain things aren't met, we're not going to do it. But I think we're doing very well, and I think Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important.
Mr. President,
on the government shutdown, Mr. President, if the vote today fails in the Senate, will that trigger layoffs?
It could. At some point it will. And, the Democrats are the ones that started this. And if you think about it, it's about health care to a large extent. It's about we want great health care for people. We don't want to give the money away to other people that come pouring into our country. And they've already poured it because nobody's coming into our country. Now we have the border totally stopped. In fact, numbers we just announced again, we're at another 0. So we have 0 for 4 months in a row. 0 people coming into our country illegally. That's a pretty good number. I'm not sure even I can believe that, Doug, if you want to know the truth. 0. We went from millions of people to 0, but it's pretty close to that number. And the way you stop them is not to give away, not to announce that you're giving everybody free health care, free this and that. But what that does is it affects the American people because the American people are unable to get good health care. Obamacare has been a wreck, as you know, and to do that, we have to keep it propped up and do the best you can with it. It's a mess. But a lot of things are going on in that. We talk about Hamas, then we talk about negotiations that we have going on right now. We have a negotiation going on right now with the Democrats that could lead to very good things.
What kind of
and I'm talking about good things with regard to health care.
Are you speaking with Democratic leaders? What kind of negotiations?
Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. But we are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care.
Would you make a deal with them on the ACA subsidies?
If we made the right deal, I'd make a deal, sure.
So you would make
I mean, you have right now subsidies. You have subsidies. That's the problem with Obamacare. The subsidies are so much. It's billions and billions of dollars is being wasted. And we can have a much better health care than we have right now. And we're talking to them. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen because this has also been going on, not for 3,000 years, but it's been going on for a long time. But yeah, we're talking to the Democrats.
You would work to make a deal with them on.
I'd like to see a deal made for great health care. Yeah, I want to see great health. I'm a Republican, but I want to see health care much more so than the Democrats.
So, Mr. President, on all of this, as you know, the American people are experiencing a lot of pain with any kind of government shutdown. And while you're dealing with Democrats and, of course, Republicans are standing their ground, what is your message directly to the American people who may encounter some of this pain and despair? Yeah. How do you give them hope?
Well, up till now, there hasn't been a great deal of pain. There could be a great deal of pain, but up till now, there hasn't been. I will say this, just hang in there because I think a lot of good things are going to happen. That's all I can say. I mean, I think a lot of good things could happen, and that could also pertain to health care.
Mr. President,
I've seen a surge in attacks on ICE agents across the country, including the shooting in Dallas and over the weekend in Chicago. We saw 10 cars boxing in on ICE agents and another one ramming into an ICE vehicle.
Yeah.
We have heard Secretary Noem saying that some of these attackers are actually organized and they're planning to kill and ambush these officers.
Right.
What are the consequences for you?
Very severe. We're going to have very severe. We're going to find out who's going after our federal agents. So when you look at Chicago, they've had probably 50 murders in the last 6 or 7 months, 8 months. Many, many people shot, like 30, 40, 50 people shot. Didn't die, but they've been shot. It's like a war zone. And then I listened to the governor and the mayor get up and say how they have it under control. They don't. It's probably worse than almost any city in the world. You could go to Afghanistan. You can go to a lot of different places, and they probably marvel at how much crime we have. Then you go to Memphis, where we are right now. Now, it's just like in Washington, D.C. right now. You people know better than I do because you have to live right inside. And so many of the press have come to me. They've said, I can't believe it. It's changed so much. We have a safe city in Washington. Memphis will very soon have a safe city. Chicago can be very, very safe. It's going to be very safe. But Chicago is going to be very safe. And you say, why is it that a governor wouldn't accept free help from regardless? I mean, whether it's National Guard or the military or anybody. I mean, if women raped and beaten and knocked to hell, and the same with men where they're being shot all over the place in large numbers. I mean, we had a week in Chicago where 11 people were murdered and 38 people were shot. And then we have a governor get up and say, oh, it's safe, we can handle it. He can't handle it. He's an incompetent guy. That's why they threw him out of the family business. They threw him out. I knew the family business very well. And they threw him out. And now he's a governor. And he should say, we'd love to have a safer place. Chicago's a great city potentially. You know, I told you, the head of the Union Pacific Railroad said, sir, save Chicago. It's a great city. It's going to be lost if you don't do it. We have no choice but to do this. And when judges give us rulings that, you know, you don't have to do it, Portland is on fire. Portland's been on fire for years. And not so much saving it. We have to save something else, because I think that's all insurrection. I really think that's really criminal insurrection. So I appreciate the question. These are unsafe places. We're going to make them safe. So you see what's going on in Memphis. Not pretty, but you know what? We're doing a pretty job, because it's going to be a very safe place in a little while. And the people of Memphis are so happy that we're there. And the people of Chicago. So you have black women with MAGA hats on in Chicago, all over the place. They want the guard to come in, or they don't care who comes in. They just want to be safe. And they really don't care. You know, there was one woman, and she was great today. She said, you know what? I don't care if it's the National Guard, the Army, the Marines, the Air Force. I don't care who comes in, as long as we're safe. And that's the way most of the public feels. We're going to make Chicago really great again. And we're going to stop this crime. Then we're going to go to another one, and we're going to go city by city. We're going to have safe cities. And it was so great that we started with our nation's capital, one of the worst. I mean, so many people, every week somebody was killed. They'd come from Iowa, they'd come from Indiana. They want to see the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial. They want to see something, and they'd get shot. And you'd call their parents, I'm sorry, but your son is dead. And they go, what do you mean he's dead? Came to Washington, D.C. Not anymore. That's not happening anymore. We have a safe place. We have a safe capital. It's as safe as we have probably almost just about in the country. And if you look back 6 months ago, 7 months ago, this was a death trap. You look back during the Biden, I mean, what they did, how badly they managed things. And almost all of these cities, most of these cities are Democrat run. And we don't care, Democrat, Republican, we're going to make them safe. So we have to save Chicago. It's very important. And you can't have a governor getting up and saying it's good when 11 people were shot over a weekend. What?
The Insurrection Act, under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I'd do it if it was necessary. So far it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe. And it's turning out, and we started with D.C. It's been so successful. Think of it. People wouldn't go to restaurants. The restaurants were closing. We were losing a lot of restaurants, as you all know. And now restaurants are opening, and they're thriving. And I went 2 weeks ago, and it was great. I'm going to go again. I felt very safe, very safe. Forgetting about guards and Secret Service, and I would have gone. It would have been very safe. D.C. is a great, and look at the cleanliness of D.C. Look at how it's clean. You don't have tents all over the place. We had parks where you couldn't even walk through the park. You had people from tents, and they were violent people. Some of these people were violent people. We have a great, safe capital again. And if you look at it in 6 months from now, it'll be the most beautiful anywhere in the world. It's being cleaned. The graffiti's all gone now. The tents are all gone. We have a capital that you can be proud of, but it'll only get better with time.
Mr. President, it was October 7th, the 2-year anniversary of the original Israeli attack. Do you expect a Gaza deal tomorrow, or any sort of hostages deal tomorrow?
I think we're going to have a deal. It's a hard thing for me to say that when for years and years they've been trying to have a deal with Gaza, But I mean, literally for centuries, okay, if you really think about it. But we're going to have a Gaza deal, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And what was hearing from afterwards about the talks?
Well, I'm the one that got the hostages back. Remember that, you know? I'm the one that.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I got them back.
Israeli citizens are celebrating what you've accomplished
Yeah.
in this deal. Should it come through, there will be a lot of celebration on the streets of Israel. The hostages' families, have they been in contact with you with regard to this deal that could happen?
They're so happy about it. It's like they can't breathe. One said, "I can't breathe." You know, it's very sad because you have hostages and you have people that are no longer living. But the parents, and I've said this to you many times, the parents want the bodies of their boy back, the bodies of, you know, their loved one back. In most cases, they're young men, and they're dead. And there's probably 32 or so, about that number. Nobody knows exactly what the number is. They want that body back as much as if their son were alive. I've been with them. You know, many have come to the White House, to the Oval Office. I've been with many of the people that I got released. We have a fantastic group working on it. Steve Witkoff has been amazing. Jared, I have Jared. I took Jared out because Jared's a very, you don't find anybody more capable. And we have the A+ team working on it. I think we've made tremendous progress. And yeah, the people of Israel wanted to happen, but the people related to hostages. I mean, you see in Israel tens of thousands of people. They really want the hostages back, and they really want things to end. And I think Hamas now has been, all I can say is they've been fine. They've been fine. I hope it's going to continue that way. I think it will. I really think we're going to have a deal. We have a really good chance of making a deal, and it'll be a lasting deal. We want to have peace. This is beyond Gaza. Gaza's a big deal, but this is really peace in the Middle East. And the amazing thing is we have every Arab country, every Muslim country. We have every country surrounding. They all want. I spoke with President Erdogan of Turkey. He's fantastic. He's been pushing very hard. He's a very powerful guy, and he's been pushing very, very hard to get this deal done. And Hamas has a lot of respect for him. They have a lot of respect for Qatar. They have a lot of respect for UAE and Saudi Arabia. We have everybody is on our side to get this deal done. There's never been anything like it. Nobody's ever seen it. There's always been like 80% of them don't want something done. I think virtually we even had a signal, a very strong signal, as you know, from Iran. They'd like to see this done.
Mr. President,
yes.
Mr. President, Governor Abbott offered up the Texas National Guard to you. Have you had any other conversations with other red state governors?
They're willing to offer. Every one of them is willing to offer whatever we need. We thank Governor Abbott of Texas. Every one of the red state, as you call them, red state governors is willing to give whatever we need because they want our agents protected. You know, these ICE agents have a tough job. They have to go in and get, in many cases, stone cold criminals, hardened criminals, long-time criminals. And every, essentially, Republican governor has offered up whatever we need. And some Democratic governors also. Daniel?
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. A quick question on the subject of the order. The Biden administration, previously speaking, they shut down Alaska for business. You reversed that, reversed it on day one. You opened it up, going after all the critical minerals. This mission of yours, Secretary Burgum, Secretary White, to boost our own independent production of critical minerals, rare earths. Can you just talk about how important that is over the next 4 years, sir?
Well, it's very necessary. You know, in the past, we were able to go to other countries, buy whatever we want, but all of a sudden, if those countries are hostile, and by the way, China hasn't been. We've made deals with China. You know, they approved the TikTok deal. Everyone said you'd never get the TikTok deal approved. They approved it, and we have great people buying it. Big, strong American companies are buying it, the most prestigious companies there are, actually, and they're going to make sure everything's good. But President Xi was great. He approved it. So I'm not saying hostile, but it's good to have our own minerals. And, you know, we create a tremendous value by creating a road. We build a road that only we can do because we have the rights to do it, number one, and we have the power to do it. And so we build a road that's over 200 miles long through a very beautiful area of the world. Actually, it's incredible. When you look at it, it's incredible. But a rough area from the standpoint of building. So we get a road done. And with that, we unleash billions and billions of dollars of wealth. It's pretty amazing when you think of it. And it's wealth that we need if we're going to be the #1 country. You know, we're #1 now with AI. You probably read. We're beating everybody with AI at levels that nobody ever thought even possible. And one of the reasons we are is because of energy. So our grid is old and tired, like most grids are. They get old with time. I mean, you know, the older you are, the older the grid gets, right? But I've allowed the people building AI or other plants, other types of plants, but AI in particular, because they need so much electricity, I've allowed them to build their own power. And it's been amazing. They're building massive plants, and with the plant, they're building their own electricity. They've become a utility in a sense. I said, maybe you'll do better with the utility than you do with the AI. I don't know. But we're letting them build their own electricity. So we don't have to worry about the grid. We don't have to worry about anything. And they're going to build it in such a way that if they have excess capacity, they're going to put it back into the grid. It's pretty amazing. So when they build, we're giving them permits to build their own electric power plants, and it's incredible when you see what they're doing. And because of that and other things that we're doing, we're leading every country. Nobody's even close to us with AI. And AI seems to be the big thing. I don't know. I can't tell you that. There are a lot of people building, and a lot of people have high stock prices because of AI. So a lot of people think it's great stuff. And I think it's great stuff. I look at it, it's amazing what it can do. In terms of medical costs, in terms of knowledge, it's basically information, and information at a level that nobody thought possible before. So we'll see. But they're building plants where you saw the one overlay that I did where, in this case it's Meta, one of their plants is essentially the size, almost the size of Manhattan. And that's a building, you know, it's a building that covers Manhattan. So it's big stuff. And nobody's even close to us. We're leading AI by so much.
Mr. President,
yeah, go ahead, please.
Since the start of your administration, we've seen a lot more Americans wanting to join ICE. And as we're seeing more attacks on them right now, what's your message to rank and file ICE agents who are trying to do their jobs but are facing 1,000% increase in attacks?
I love your questions, you know. I like you. So who are you with?
I'm with NTD.
Very good.
I was the one who got mugged.
You were the one, that's what I thought. You got mugged. You're not getting mugged anymore.
Not anymore.
She was really, you're lucky to be with us with that deal that happened. I know all about that. Not anymore, though. You feel a different world out there, right?
Totally. You're safe with the baby nowadays.
Oh, good. Well, you're safe now. Nobody's going to be hurting you in any way.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court today.
Thank you. So the bottom line on your question, we're just going to make things real safe. We're going to have a country that you can be proud of, not a country that you read about every day where somebody gets mugged from behind or hit over the head with a baseball bat. Those people aren't with us any longer. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. On today's call with Lula from Brazil,
Yeah.
are you considering lowering tariffs after the call?
Well, I had a great talk with the president of Brazil, who's a good man. I met him actually at the United Nations. I was going up to make a speech and I didn't have a teleprompter. I was walking up to my teleprompter. I said, I don't have a teleprompter. But just before that, I met with President Lula, and I found him to be very good. I mean, we had a very good talk for about, 2 minutes. And then I went up to make a speech, and I was surprised to see, how would you like that one, Doug? I've got every leader in the world sitting out there. My teleprompter isn't on. You know why, Daniel? Because it was a rigged deal. But fortunately, I made a better speech than I would have if I read it off a teleprompter, which is pretty easy to do. So it was quite a day. That was a big day. But we met and we liked each other. And we had a great conversation. We'll start doing business.
And are you considering traveling to Brazil for COP30?
At some point I would, and he's going to come here. We talked about that.
And a follow-up question on Israel. Israel government has been arresting and deporting activists that were traveling to Gaza. Today, Greta Thunberg, for instance, also some...
Well, she's just a troublemaker, I mean, she's no longer into the environment, now she's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now, you can have her. You can have. She's just a troublemaker. Yeah, please.
Mr. President's term today, Mr. President.
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back in session. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance at getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what
They
happened?
said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly. Steve?
Have you made a decision on whether to supply Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine or sell them to NATO and let them sell them to Ukraine?
Yeah, I've sort of made a decision, pretty much. If you consider, yeah, I think I want to find out what they're doing with them.
Yes.
You know, where are they sending them? I guess I'd have to ask that question. That war should never have started, would have never started. Such bad judgment was used there. I think on both sides, by the way. But nobody looks good with the war with Russia and Ukraine. Nobody. That's been a horrible. This week they lost over 7,000 soldiers between the two of them. This is every week they're losing 7,000, 8,000, 5,000.
They have a range of like 1,500 miles or something, and so they'd be able to.
No, I know. No, I would ask some questions. I want to see what's. I'm not looking to see escalation.
Yes. And tomorrow you're meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister. What's on the agenda for that?
Well, I guess he's going to ask about tariffs because a lot of companies from Canada are moving into the United States. You know, everybody's moving back into the U.S. and he's probably going to be asking about tariffs. They're losing a lot of companies in Canada. They're coming into they left here. They left here 20 years ago when presidents that sat right at this desk weren't doing their job properly. They were probably good politicians, but they weren't good at business, and they allowed these companies to leave. And all they had to do is do what I'm doing right now. And, you know, I'm not saying it's the easiest thing to do, but it is. It's effective. We're a rich country again. We're a powerful country because, you know, I've ended 7 wars. At least half of them was because of my ability at trade and because of tariffs. If I didn't have tariffs to throw around a little bit, you would have at least 4 wars raging right now with thousands of people a day being killed that aren't happening. We've settled. You know, we settled 7. We're getting close to settling 8. That would be a big one. And that's something that could happen. But so I think he's coming probably to talk about tariffs because a lot of companies are leaving Canada to come into the U.S. And they're leaving Mexico. And by the way, they're leaving China. They're leaving all over the world to come into the U.S.
And would you
Nobody's actually seen anything like it.
Would you shift your position on tariffs in response to whatever you
Well,
said
I mean,
tomorrow?
look, my positions turned out to, everybody said I'm right. They find billions of dollars that they didn't even know they had. Recently, they said they found billions of dollars and they couldn't understand. I said, check the tariff shelf. And they come in the next hour and they said, sir, you're right. It was from the tariffs. We're a rich, really rich country again. But more importantly, maybe influence. If I didn't have the power of tariffs, you would have at least 4 of the 7 wars raging. I use tariffs to stop wars. If you look at India and Pakistan, they were ready to go at it. 7 planes we shot down. They were ready to go at it. And then nuclear powers. And I don't want to say exactly what I said, but what I said was very effective. They stopped. And that was based on tariffs. It was based on trade. Tariffs are very important for the United States. We are a peacekeeper because of tariffs. Not only do we make, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars, but we're a peacekeeper because of tariffs.
Mr. President.
On the shutdown, Mr. President, the shutdown that occurred during your first term lasted 35 days.
Yeah.
How long do you expect this shutdown to go?
Well, you don't know. Look, I can say this, that it would have not happened except for the Democrats. The Democrats are very foolish. They've lost their way. And we have a new thing now when you look at, it's called crime. It's called absolute, as Biden would say, well, I won't say what he would have said. Remember what he said? It's a 3-letter word. No. Remember that one? Everyone saying, what was that all about? He probably meant exclamation point or something after the word. But this is a 5-letter word, crime. C-R-I-M-E. And we want to put it out and are putting it out, and they don't. They don't seem to care about it, but they do care. I believe that Pritzker and this mayor of Chicago that like to say about they don't have it under control. Not only is it not under control, it's the opposite. And I believe they're afraid, they're scared for their lives. I believe that the Portland people are scared. You look at what's happened with Portland over the years, it's a burning hellhole. And then you have a judge that lost her way, that tries to pretend that like there's no problem. Actually, she's not even saying that. There's a huge problem in Portland. I'll tell you what the problem is, crime. Okay, crime. There's a huge problem in Chicago. It's called crime. And we want to put out the crime, and they want to inflame the crime. And why they want to, I don't know. But it could be that Pritzker is scared for his life. Yeah.
You appointed that judge on the UN. Do you have an update on the investigation into what happened to you at the UN last month? And also, what's your message to Americans who are concerned about your and your family's safety as you're very out in public attending?
Yeah, I am out there. There's no question about it. Well, at the UN, we had a problem with the teleprompter. We had another problem that nobody has actually talked about. The people in the room didn't hear my speech. Did you know that? The people in the room, they didn't have any loudspeakers, and they didn't hear my speech. And I thought I made a really good speech. I mean, considering I didn't have the use of teleprompter, which is unusual. But I made a speech. I could have walked off the stage. I guess most people, Doug, I think most people would have just said, we'll see you in about a half an hour, right? But, you know, they obviously turned off I think they turned off the teleprompter, but there was a reason that it didn't work. I actually know the reason. They didn't let the teleprompter person into the room. Okay, which is essentially the same thing. So I made a speech. It turned out to be a very good speech, got good reviews. I went out to the audience after the speech. I saw my wife. I said, how good was that speech? Was that unbelievable or what? She said, I didn't hear a word you said. I said, what do you mean? She was sitting in the front. I said, what do you mean? She said, you couldn't hear anything that you said. The speakers were turned off. So I think that's pretty bad stuff, right? You know, especially since we support most of the United Nations. And yet I still want to keep it in New York because I think the United Nations has tremendous potential. If properly run, the United States has tremendous potential. But think of this. I settled 7 wars. I never spoke to the United Nations about it, not one of them. You look at, and those were wars that were raging a long time, and in many cases. And I settled 7. I never heard from the United. They didn't help me. They should be able to settle the wars. I shouldn't have to be settling the wars. Yeah, please.
I think last week you signed the security guarantees for Qatar.
Yeah.
Do you see any role for the Senate in that? Do they have to vote on that, or do you think?
Well, I wouldn't mind if they did. If they want to, they'd let me know. Nobody said that. But you know, Qatar has been very, very helpful to us in this process, and I think you'll find that. I think. Maybe the most influential, very influential, very strong. With Hamas, they're very strong. And Turkey's likewise been helpful. I mean, honestly, UAE, Saudi Arabia, everybody's been helpful. I just spoke today with the King of Jordan, and he's been terrific too. I can't think of any country that's been negative about this. This is why it should happen. I mean, everybody wants it to happen. And usually when everybody, including, I think, Hamas, and when they want it to happen, it's going to happen.
James Comey is being arraigned on Wednesday, obviously after his indictment. Are you worried that your own statements calling for his prosecution could help him actually in his defense of this case?